Okay, now on to this demographic transition. So with a transition, we know there's going to be some type of change. So you can see that change already happening with the arrows that are already on the slide. So this is what the human population looked like originally. We had lots of births and we had lots of deaths. And again, you can see that on this historical graph there on the bottom right. Now, this is a transition, so we're going to be changing. I like to call it a flip-flop. We're going to do a complete flip with this. So the first thing that is going to flip is going to be the death rate. So the death rates are going to drop, and they're going to drop due to those advancements. So specifically those advancements in medicine and sanitation to make life easier and to allow people to live longer. And then the last part of this transition or flip-flop is to have a decrease in the birth rates. So to have the birth rates now equaling the death rates. And when that happens, anytime you have it equal, then we're going to see that flat line. So the words that we have for that, we have logistic growth, we have words like carrying capacity, and typically that's something that comes with modernization of a country. And this is something that we will look at country by country. So you can see at the bottom there how this demographic transition can occur. Now, there are countries around the world that have achieved this transition where their population growth has slowed or stopped. And we even see that there are some, especially when we talk about countries of Europe and possibly Japan one day, that could be on the decline. But the United States, Japan, and generally the countries of Europe are the ones we're talking about having achieved this transition. But again, there are some that might have issues in the future because of the birth rate dropping more than you would like for a country. You have to have people to run the country. Now, countries that have not achieved transition, so there's a couple of handfuls of countries, but we do know that India and China already have over 1 billion people. And if you just think about it, you have 1 billion people, they can have offspring, and that means that their population is just going to be growing exponentially. So, how to make predictions. So, you can make a prediction by studying the age structure. Now, that's not something we've looked at before. We looked at migration. Now, we can move around the country. We can move from country to country, but there's really no place for us to go for additional resources other than Earth. Maybe you can go to Mars one day. So we can take a country and we can chop it up into 3 main categories based upon being reproductively mature. So this first category, and you can see by looking at the pictures, these are pre-reproductive ages. So this is before the body is reproductively mature. So that's pretty much after puberty. And then we have the reproductive ages. Now, when you're talking about reproductive ages, you're talking about the age at which people will have kids. And when you talk about that, there's a word that pops up. It's fertility. Now, this type of fertility has nothing to do with anatomy and physiology. What this has to do is with the number of offspring a female will have over her lifetime or can have over her lifetime. And this fertility rate has decreased in these modern countries that have achieved this transition, even in the United States. And it has nothing, again, to do with anatomy and physiology. It has to do with choices for females, and that's changed a lot over the past few generations. So the amount of babies that you can have over your lifetime is considerably less when you think about women waiting till later in life to have babies. And when that happens, there's a little bit of a period of time, probably a couple of years would be more, probably the best recommendation before having the next baby. So just waiting till later in life kind of cuts down the number of babies, cuts down the fertility for females, and that people have fewer children than they used to. The last group on an age structure diagram are the post-reproductive ages. So being past the point to where people usually have children. So when you look at these, this is what an age structure diagram looks like. So this is just general, it's just basic, it's generic. There's not any country labeled here, but we can see how to read it. First, we see that it's divided into male and female, and a lot of times they're colored differently. Then in the middle, you can see the age brackets. So you can see the age brackets on this one. So from 0 to 4-year-olds all the way up to 80 plus. And then at the bottom, and this is for the females and for the males, you see the numbers here in millions. So that's 0 to 7 on each side. And that's 0 to 7 million on this one. So what you can use this information for is you can do what I told you that we can do earlier. We can look at past events. So in the United States, for years, and I haven't really seen any newly updated ones, probably this would be closest, that you always kind of saw this bulge. And this bulge around here was the time of the baby boomers. So when people call someone a boomer, that means that they were born as people came home as the Second World War ended. So they're baby boomers. That's what that means. So that's this group that is up here. Again, this is 3 years old, but that population, this bulge that you see, that's from the baby boomers. If we look up at the top, we can see some countries that are in various states. So we can see these countries here are still growing exponentially. So there's a lot of young people. Young people grow up, and a lot of young people that grow up have a lot of kids. We can see this kind of slow growth. We can see these countries here of a zero growth. So what that would mean is that their birth rates and death rates are pretty close to even. And then we can see what a negative growth would look like to where you would have a higher death rate than a birth rate.
Hello.
I'm recording. At least I thought I was.
How you thinking?